Good morning. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Albuquerque office for being here, and some people from DEA headquarters for being here as well. As Tom said, we cover the entire state of New Mexico, and from El Paso all the way to Midland, Odessa. That's the El Paso Division sector. And so DEA is here today to talk about the overdose poisoning epidemic. It's one of the greatest threats to our safety, to our health, and to the well-being of every single community in New Mexico, across the entire U.S. DEA is doing their part, everything we can to keep dangerous, deadly, illicit drugs out of our community, but we need your help. We need you to learn about the dangers of today's illicit drugs. As we will discuss in this presentation, some of these illicit drugs are so lethal that experimenting with them just one time can be deadly. Every day we see news headlines from communities across this country of those lost to an illicit substance, primarily synthetic opioids like fentanyl, made by drug cartels. Each of these headlines up here represents a human life lost. A mother, a father, a sister, a brother, an aunt, an uncle. In the past year, more than 107,000 people died from a poisoning. That's about 293 people lost every day. That's about 2 times what's in this room right now. According to the CDC, the majority of these deaths are from synthetic opioids like fentanyl, and the rest are from psychostimulants, primarily methamphetamine. In the El Paso division, as I said, is El Paso to Midland, Odessa, the entire state of New Mexico. In 2021, we seized more illicit fentanyl than the previous 5 years combined. This is approximately 2 milligrams of illicit fentanyl. It's considered to be the lethal dose. Some of you know fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. The fentanyl driving this epidemic isn't just sold in fake prescription pills. Dealers are mixing it with other illicit drugs like cocaine, heroin, meth to make their product go further, to increase their products, and to drive addiction. In September of 2021, DEA took the very unusual step of issuing a public safety alert to warn the American public about the alarming increase in the lethality and the availability of fake prescription pills containing illicit fentanyl and illicit methamphetamine. DEA does not issue these public safeties very often. As a matter of fact, prior to this alert, the last one we issued was over 6 years ago, and it was a call to attention to the dangers associated with this new illicit fentanyl, as you mentioned when it first started coming out. Locally, we issued a local alert in El Paso during Memorial Day, when 11 people were rushed to hospitals in a period of 36 hours. Some of the most common fake pills are made to look like prescription opioids like Oxycontin, Vicodin, Xanax, or stimulants like Adderall. These fake prescription pills are widely accessible and often sold on social media and e-commerce platforms, making them available to anyone with a smartphone. Let me ask you, which of these pills do you think is the real one? Can you tell? Well, let's find out. How about this picture? One is a real Xanax made by a pharmaceutical company, and one is made by a drug cartel, primarily Sinaloa or Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, known as CJNG. The fact of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is fake pills appear nearly identical to legitimate prescription medications. So how do we tell them apart? DEA stance is that the only safe pill to consume is one that was prescribed by a licensed physician or dentist, filled by a registered pharmacy. It has your name on it, and you take it as prescribed. Outside of that, it's not safe. Even if it's a pill your friend gives you for your headache or your pain, there's no way to tell whether it contains a legitimate medication or illicit fentanyl made by a cartel, or methamphetamine made by a cartel. Even if someone tells you it's Oxycontin, Vicodin, or Adderall, you can't take that chance. Assume it's fake. These drug traffickers, I'll mention them again, Sinaloa Cartel and CJNG, are preying on our dependence on pills and will market these products as legitimate medications when it's actually not a medication and contains no active ingredient in the medication or the fake pill. So we know medical grade fentanyl is made in a clean, controlled laboratory like this one. Very strict regulations, DEA regulates those. It's typically administered in micrograms in hospitals, nursing homes, under strict medical supervision. But I'm not talking about this type of fentanyl. I'm talking about illicit fentanyl made by Sinaloa Cartel, CJNG, in clandestine labs like this one. They're in jungles, deserts, warehouses, garages, apartments, Airbnbs. There's obviously no quality control in these clandestine operations. There's no telling how much illicit fentanyl will end up in one pill, or how much illicit fentanyl will end up in a supply of cocaine, of heroin, of methamphetamine. There's no regard in these labs for human life. If their poison kills another 107,000 Americans, that's just the cost of doing business. Drug dealers and those seeking these pills are using a whole new language to DEA and its law enforcement partners are seizing these deadly fake pills at record rates. In 2021, DEA as a whole seized more than 20 million fake pills, which is more than was seized in 2019 and 2020 combined. The number of DEA fake pills with fentanyl has jumped nearly 430% since 2019, which is a staggering increase. Fake pills have been seized by DEA in every state, in every city, and every community. If you don't think they're in your community, you're mistaken. A lot of people don't know that DEA has laboratories across the US. We have scientists, forensic chemists, pharmacists, pharmacologists that work in these laboratories, and they analyze the drugs that we seize. Of all the pills that we seized, DEA laboratory testing indicates that 42%, or roughly 4 out of every 10 pills tested, contains more than 2 milligrams, the potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. Remember, there are no regulation in these clandestine labs by Sinaloa or CJNG. It's literally being added to just binding materials using precursor chemicals. It's being mixed up in barrels with 2x4s, in mason jars, and pressed into pills. There's no telling if a pill contains trace amounts, no fentanyl at all, or a lethal dose, or sometimes twice the lethal dose. As we discussed earlier, 2 milligrams is considered a potentially lethal dose. But today, the average dose in the pills that we seize that are tested in our labs is 2.2 milligrams, which is over the lethal dose. This is up from 1.3 milligrams in 2017. The cartel, Sinaloa, and CJNG are selling these pills on social media sites, popular with students and young adults who like to share their stories and their pictures. But they've also become popular platforms for Sinaloa and CJNG, who use these sites to sell their illicit products. Drug dealers and those seeking those pills are using a whole language, different acronyms, texting, emojis on smartphones. These are probably outdated. I was a high school teacher. The moment I knew what my kids were doing, it changed. So these are probably outdated. But you get how they're communicating. You need to be aware of suspicious text messaging, social media messaging, Cash App posts. Those should spark an important, potentially life-saving conversation with your loved ones. You need to know that DEA works with social media and internet companies to provide them information on how they can understand how drug traffickers are operating in their space, but we can't rely on that. We have to start conversations about the dangers of these platforms with our loved ones, especially the young ones.
We are back with a tragedy for a California family that's shining a light on something that many parents may not know about, but definitely should.
Yeah, it turns out young people are able to find drugs on popular social media sites, including Snapchat. NBC's senior national correspondent Kate Snow is here with a really tragic story of that very thing happening. Kate, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Savannah. This is a nightmare for parents. Dr. Laura Berman is well known for her expertise on love and relationships. She was a frequent guest here on Today. But on Sunday, she and her husband lost their 16-year-old son, and they're speaking out because they want every parent and every child to know the danger of buying pills on Snapchat. It's a lethal combination, teens and 20-somethings stuck at home during the pandemic and drug dealers using Snapchat to push a deadly product.
I didn't intend for us to be on the news. I just felt helpless. All I was thinking about is that this couldn't happen again. And I was so furious and helpless.
For years, Dr. Laura Berman has offered advice on matters of the heart. On Instagram Monday, it was her own heart breaking. My beautiful boy is gone, 16 years old, sheltering at home. A drug dealer connected with him on Snapchat and gave him fentanyl-laced Xanax, and he overdosed in his room.
He asked his dad for a cheeseburger, and an hour later, I went into his room because we'd been talking about an internship for the summer that he wanted to do, and he was on the floor and gone. I'm so sorry.
Sammy was a football player, a junior who was into business and just built a biosphere in his bedroom.
He was always doing little projects and full of intellectual curiosity and excitement for the future.
But Laura and her husband Sam also say Sammy was cooped up during the pandemic and bored. They say he wanted to experiment and found a menu of drugs for sale on Snapchat.
This big, colorful menu came up with some man with a Twitter handle who was promising to bring it by your house. Each different drug had a different color, the way a kid would love to see it. And Snapchat is for the kids.
Do you think your son knew he was ordering fentanyl?
No way.
No.
The DEA says people are ordering pills by common names like Xanax, but they're actually made of fentanyl, often manufactured in Mexico. Ed Ternan and his wife Mary have been keeping a tally of the fentanyl deaths they hear about tied to Snapchat, 20, including their son, Charlie. He died 3 weeks before college graduation last May.
They just are greedy and they want to make a profit, and they don't care that our kids are dying all the time.
I'm sorry.
And it's just, every day is so hard. I just miss him so much.
They founded the nonprofit Song for Charlie to warn others.
Snapchat's not the only platform where these kinds of pills and other drugs are sold, but it is certainly the most popular platform among retail drug dealers.
So you think they're targeting young people?
Absolutely.
I think that if social media wants to pretend to be responsible, this is a great place for them to change their behavior. The big tech is not taking responsibility for helping the police find the dealer.
Snapchat expressed its deepest sympathies and said, in part, we are committed to working together with law enforcement in all instances where Snapchat is used for illegal purposes. We are constantly improving our technological capabilities to detect drug-related activity.
But when they see our son and can relate to him and see what happened to him, you know, maybe it will sink in. And if it helps one kid, it's worth it.
Laura and Sam say that is the only reason they agreed to speak with us at such a terrible time. Ed and Mary are actively involved with many families who've lost children, and they say they want to work with Snapchat. They think they could help Snapchat better understand what's happening out there and make changes to make it harder for illegal drugs to be advertised there. Guys.
Kid, it's just such a heartbreaking story on so many levels. Any tips for parents who are watching or listening? Any tips to look out for?
And it's hard as a parent of teenagers. I can tell you the biggest tip is to talk with your kids. I did it yesterday about the danger of fentanyl and how it's often packaged or sold as something else. Laura and Sam also wish that they had known more about what Sammy was doing on Snapchat. Like a lot of parents, they didn't even know the passcode for his phone, so they're now waiting for Apple to help unlock it. But they told me that can't even happen until there's a death certificate. It's just so heartbreaking on so many levels, guys.
Last year, DEA launched the One Pill Can Kill awareness campaign. Please help us spread the word. Help us share the dangers associated with these illicit fake pills. Connect people with information and resources related to these fake pills, to illicit fentanyl, to illicit methamphetamine, in an effort to drive down these deaths. Partner with local, state, federal law enforcement, partner with prevention, partner with public health organizations. Help us elevate awareness of these dangerous and potentially deadly fake pills. 5 takeaways I'd like for you to take from this. 1, we need you to encourage people to only use medications that are prescribed to them by a licensed medical provider and dispensed by a trusted pharmacy. 2, protect your medications from being diverted. Secure your prescription medications, especially the powerful opioids. Clean out your medicine cabinet at least twice a year. 3, one pill can kill. Don't take this warning lightly. It only takes one fake pill with the lethal dose of illicit fentanyl to kill. 4, remember, cartels, Sinaloa, CJNG are preying on the opioid epidemic and prescription drug misuse to flood our country with mass quantities of these fake prescription pills made with illicit fentanyl. And last, please know that the men and women of DEA are going to continue its mission to target these most dangerous cartels who are causing harm in our neighborhoods and communities. We're also dedicated to reducing drug-related violence. But the best way to affect supply is to reduce the demand. One of the best ways to reduce demand is through education and awareness. If you scan this QR code, it's going to take you right to DEA's online resources. We encourage you to help us start and continue this important conversation. It's never too early to talk to all your loved ones about the dangers of taking a pill that was not prescribed by a doctor and dispensed by a pharmacist. It really does only take one pill, one time, to end a beautiful, beautiful life. Thank you.